When Alara Ward arrived at Fort Sentry, she didn't look like the kind of soldier people whispered legends about. She looked normal. Too normal, in fact. Her silence was often mistaken for weakness, her calmness mistaken for inexperience, and the soft way she carried herself made others think she had never tasted real combat. In an environment where loud personalities dominated the mess hall and confidence filled every corner, Alara seemed out of place, a quiet shadow in a world built on noise. From day one, soldiers judged her. During morning drills, when most troops thundered across the field with full energy, Alara ran at a steady, controlled pace, finishing near the end every time. Some laughed under their breath. Others shook their heads. A few simply ignored her presence altogether. The new recruits whispered that she must have had strings pulled to get assigned here. Veterans rolled their eyes and assumed she would wash out soon, but none of them saw the things she hid. Didn't see the slight tremor in her right hand every morning, a remnant of nerve damage from a blast she never spoke about. They didn't notice the way she scanned every room she entered, studying exits, corners, and potential threats, a habit formed from surviving too many ambushes. They never saw how her eyes shifted whenever she heard a helicopter, a reminder of a crash she still dreamed about at night. To outsiders, she looked like a soldier with no fire. Inside, she was a soldier trying not to burn. Alara never corrected anyone's assumptions. She never explained herself. She never bragged about past missions or earned sympathy by mentioning the surgery she endured. Silence had become her armor, and solitude was the only comfort she trusted. She didn't expect respect, nor did she request it. All she wanted was peace, a place where she didn't have to relive her past every time someone asked, "Where have you served?" But even though she tried to blend into the background, her superiors knew the truth. They knew what she had endured, what she had survived, and what she carried beneath her quiet exterior. She wasn't transferred to Fort Sentry because she failed. She was transferred because the military believed she needed time to heal. Yet healing is impossible when everyone around you mistakes your silence for weakness. And Alara felt that sting every single day. The turning point arrived on a quiet Friday morning during a routine battalion inspection. Soldiers lined up in perfect formation, uniforms crisp, boots shining. The atmosphere buzzed with chatter, except around Alara, who stood alone, hands clasped behind her back, her face calm as always. Most of the unit expected nothing unusual. Inspections came and went. But this one would change everything. As the commander moved down the line, correcting posture and adjusting collars, he suddenly stopped in front of Alara. The entire platoon watched, some smirking, assuming she was about to be scolded for something minor. Instead, his voice carried across the courtyard, "Private Alara Ward, step forward." A ripple of whispers spread instantly. Alara obeyed, her steps steady, her expression unreadable. The commander opened a small black case, one she had refused to accept months ago, and held it out for everyone to see. Inside lay 5 purple hearts. The sun hit them perfectly, making the metals glow like fragments of her hidden past. Silence washed over the formation. The soldiers who had joked about her, who had dismissed her as weak or unskilled, stared in disbelief. 5 purple hearts wasn't just rare, it was unheard of for someone her age. Each medal represented a moment when she had been willing to die for someone else. But she didn't bask in the attention. She didn't smile. She simply closed the case and gave a quiet nod, as if the weight of the medals was heavier than the medal itself. The platoon was speechless. For the first time, they looked at her not with judgment, but with a dawning realization. The quiet woman they underestimated had survived more battles than they could imagine. That morning, her silence finally made sense. That night, after the inspection, Alara lay awake in her bunk long after lights out. The barracks were silent, but her mind wasn't. The sudden attention, the gasps, the stares, It all pried open doors in her memory she had tried desperately to keep shut. And now, in the darkness, those doors swung wide. Her first Purple Heart flashed before her eyes. She was only 19, dragging her wounded captain through burning debris after a roadside bomb ripped their convoy apart. Her arms had been shredded by shrapnel, but she kept pulling until she collapsed. That captain survived because she refused to let go. Her second medal came during an ambush in a narrow valley. She remembered the sharp whistle of bullets, the dust rising, and a medic screaming as he fell. Alara had thrown herself over him, shielding him with her own body while returning fire. She still remembered the sting of the round that tore through her shoulder and the medic's trembling, "Thank you." Afterward, the third Purple Heart was tied to the memory that haunted her most, the helicopter crash. Engines failing, metal screeching, the world flipping upside down. She woke up buried under wreckage, ribs broken, lungs burning, but still pulled. 2 unconscious soldiers out before passing out herself. The fourth was earned during a 7-minute defensive stand, 7 minutes that felt like 7 hours. Outnumbered, pinned down, bleeding from a leg wound, she held the line alone until reinforcements arrived. Her commander called it heroic. She called it survival, but the fifth, that one hurt the deepest. It came from the day she failed to save her closest friend Ava. A sudden explosion. Ava's hand slipping from hers, the world going red. They pinned a medal on her uniform for trying. She never forgave herself for not succeeding. Each Purple Heart wasn't a symbol of pride. It was a reminder of pain, sacrifice, and loss. The others saw medals. Alara saw ghosts. That night, she lay awake with tears she refused to let fall. Because remembering wasn't courage. It was punishment she lived with every day. In the days after the inspection, something subtle but powerful shifted around Fort Sentry. The same soldiers who once mocked Alara now watched her with quiet curiosity. They didn't crowd her or offer forced apologies, but their eyes lingered longer, trying to understand how the woman they underestimated carried a history heavier than their entire unit combined. During training, the change became undeniable. On the shooting range, Alara moved with calm precision. Her grip was steady, her breathing controlled, her focus absolute. She didn't rush. She didn't show off. She simply performed with a quiet mastery that only comes from surviving real fire. Recruits who once smirked at her now whispered to each other in disbelief. In tactical drills, her instincts took command. She corrected formation gaps without raising her voice. She noticed dangers before instructors pointed them out. When a new recruit froze during a live fire simulation, paralyzed by the echo of gunshots, it was Alara who rushed to him. She knelt beside him, placed a steady hand on his shoulder, and guided him through each breath until he regained control. No shouting, no embarrassment, just calm leadership, the kind forged in chaos. Slowly, the unit began approaching her for advice. How do you steady your aim? How did you survive your first ambush? What keeps you focused under pressure? Alara answered quietly, never boasting, never sugarcoating the truth. She spoke with the honesty of someone who had nothing to prove and everything to teach. The soldiers started sitting near her during meals. Not close enough to overwhelm her, but close enough to show they now understood her value. Respect grew naturally, not from medals, but from witnessing her character up close. For the first time since arriving at Fort Sentry, Alara felt a tiny shift in her chest. It wasn't joy, and it wasn't pride. It was something much rarer for a soldier who had lived through so much. Belonging. She still moved with silence. She still carried her scars. But now, the silence wasn't mistaken for weakness. It was recognized for what it truly was, the quiet presence of a warrior who had endured more than she ever revealed. 2 weeks after the shift in the unit, Fort Sentry awoke to a morning that felt ordinary until the explosion shattered everything. A massive blast rumbled from the eastern fuel wing, sending a wave of smoke curling into the sky. Panic spread instantly. Soldiers sprinted toward the fire, alarms wailed, and confusion crashed through the base like a storm. But while others hesitated, Alara Ward ran toward the danger without a second thought. The closer she got, the thicker the smoke became. Flames roared against twisted metal, and the intense heat pushed back anyone who got too close. Through the chaos, Alara heard cries from inside the maintenance bay. 2 mechanics trapped beneath collapsed scaffolding, ignoring the shouted warnings behind her. She pushed through the smoke-filled entrance. Her lungs burned, her eyes stung, but she moved with the same steady instinct she had carried through every battlefield. She found the first mechanic coughing violently, pinned by a fallen beam. With raw determination, she lifted the metal just enough for him to crawl out. Her injured shoulder screamed in pain, but she didn't stop. The second mechanic was unconscious. The flames crept closer. Alara pulled him over her shoulder, staggered through the doorway, and collapsed only after she was sure he was breathing. When the fire crews arrived, they found her sitting on the ground, soot covering her uniform, hair damp with sweat, breaths coming in painful gasps. Yet there was a faint, relieved smile on her face, the kind a soldier wears when the mission ends. Without a body count, her battalion gathered around her in silence. Not pity, not guilt, respect. The commander stepped forward, his voice steady but full of emotion. This is why she carries 5 Purple Hearts, he said. Not because she chased medals, because she never walks away from someone who needs her. For the first time, the soldiers didn't see the quiet woman they judged. They saw courage. They saw sacrifice. They saw a leader who never needed to shout to be heard. Alara Ward didn't earn their respect by revealing her past. She earned it by proving who she truly was. A hero who never stopped saving others, even when she couldn't save herself.